إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. We're supposed to be, inshallah, dealing with a topic. It's directed to the sisters, but it also includes the brothers as well. And it deals with trials that the Muslim sisters face in this society. That, in addition to some of the questions that were posed by the sisters that were given prior to this sit down here, or this discussion. And one of the things that is actually crucial for both brothers and sisters to keep in the forefront of our minds is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ مَسَّتْهُمُ الْبَأْسَاءُ وَالضَّرَّاءُ وَزُلْزِلُوا حتى يقول الرسول والذين آمنوا معه متى نصر الله ألا إن نصر الله قريب. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, do you think that you shall enter Jannah and not be tested? Do you think that you shall enter Jannah and what has befallen the people before you has not befallen you? Or has not yet befallen you? They were afflicted with illnesses, diseases, poverty, and all manner of hardships. Until even the messenger said, when is the help of Allah? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that surely Allah's help is near. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also mentions in the Quran certain principles that govern the lives of the believers. And He says, إِن تَنْصُرُوا اللَّهَ يَنْصُرْكُمْ وَيُثَبِّتْ أَقْدَامَكُمْ. If you aid Allah, Allah shall assist you. Aiding Allah is, you cannot go beyond the heavens to assist Allah. That's not what is intended. What is intended is you are obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You adhere to the Quran and the Sunnah, that Allah shall assist you. Assistance was not mentioned in any particular area of one's life as an indication that you shall receive assistance in all areas of your existence. So one of the things, or one of the formulas for success is obedience to Allah and obedience to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentioned concerning what is going to happen to the believers. And he told his companions that there shall come a time يأتي على الناس زمان الصابر فيه على دينه كالقابض على الجمر. There shall come a time amongst or upon the people when the person who is patient with his deen, who is adhering to his deen, it will be like holding on to live cinders. Shaykh al-Sa'di rahimahullah ta'ala, when he explained this particular hadith, he says there's a part of this that is informative and there's a part of that is instructional. The informative part is that so the believers will know that times are going to change for them and that there are very difficult times. Difficult in respect to the people who will be upon the truth and that their numbers are going to be few. And it's an indication of the large majority of people that will be against it. This is the informative part. Instructional here is that you should prepare yourselves for this time of difficulty so that you don't be caught off guard. And so the Prophet ﷺ told us about this time, and he prophesied that this deen of ours started out strange and that it will end in that way. And Nawawi, when he mentioned about this hadith, بدأ الإسلام غريبا وسيعود غريبا كما بدأ فطوبى للغرباء, that the deen started out strange and it shall return to this strange state. He said, what is intended that it started with a few people practicing it and it shall return to that state. So Islam is going to be strange amongst Muslims. When you start adhering to the Quran and the Sunnah, this is an indication that even amongst the Muslims you're going to look at as being strange. That you'll be looked at as being strange. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in times to come about the large numbers of Muslims to appear. That their numbers will be great. But he says, when the companions asked him about their state, he says, "Antum gutha'un ka gutha'i sayl," that you will just be like trash on the side of a riverbed, no worth to you. And the reason this shall occur is that people will give off obedience to Allah and adhering to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and following their desires. If this occurs, then a person's life is going to be miserable in spite of his worldly things coming together at times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ وَمَنْ يَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ قَدْ جَعَلَ اللَّهُ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the Quran, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْهُ مَخْرَجًا. Whoever has taqwa, whoever obeys Allah, whoever stays away from the things that he forbids, whoever obeys the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whoever stays away from the things that he forbids alayhi salatu wasalam, whoever does this, Allah shall provide for you from where you least expect. From where you least expect. Assistance then for the believer comes through righteousness, through adhering to the Quran and adhering to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And this has to be based not on how we interpret the text, because we know from the statements of the Prophet ﷺ that people will come later and they will begin to freelance in terms of the text. He says, إِنَّمَا أَخَافُ عَلَىٰ أُمَّتِي أَئِمَّةَ الْمُضِلِّينَ. Innama is one of those expressions in the Arabic, they call it uslub al-hasri. That what I fear for you more than anything else are the a'imma mudillin, those people that get up on the minbar and misguide you in the name of Islam. What I fear for you more than anything else, a'immat al-mudillin, those who would take the text and water it down so that it's palatable for the circumstances which they find themselves. Anytime you take revelation and you tamper with it, it loses its potency. It no longer has the strength that it once had. And for us, our dignity is in Islam, brothers and sisters. When Umar ibn al-Khattab was going to Sham, And he was taking turns riding the camel once and then walking the other time. And he had his sandals thrown over his shoulders. And some of the believers came out to him and said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, O leader of the faithful, you're meeting the nobility, they're coming out to see you. These people, these dignitaries, they're coming to see you. So put your sandals on. Umar said to him, he said, look, al-amr min hahuna. He says, the affair, what concerns us more than anything else, he pointed to the sky. This is where your focus should be first, on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He told them, Kunna adhalla nas fa'azana Allah bil-Islam. We were the lowest people. And Allah gave us dignity in Islam. He says, مهما نثرب العزة في غير الإسلام أذلنا الله. If we seek dignity outside of Islam, Allah shall disgrace us. So for us Muslims, men and women, in this society, success comes not in watering down the deen in our lives. Success comes in adhering to the deen in spite of the odds and in spite of the circumstances. That is what we find in the Quran, and this is what we find in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. يا أيها الذين آمنوا أطيعوا الله وأطيعوا الرسول وأولي الأمر منكم فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله والرسول إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله واليوم الآخر ذلك خير وأحسن تأويلا. O you who believe, obey Allah and obey His Messenger and those in authority over you. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said concerning this verse that Allah repeated the command to obey twice. When it was related to Allah, the command to obey was mentioned. When the Prophet ﷺ, the Messenger, was mentioned, the command to obey was referred to or mentioned again. When it came to leadership, the command to obey was not mentioned. Because when it comes to leadership, obedience is conditional. If they obey Allah and if they obey the Messenger, and if they tell you to do that, then obedience is due. Otherwise, there's no obedience to them. When it comes to Allah or the Prophet ﷺ, there is unconditional obedience. But when it comes to anybody else, it's conditional. If you're guiding me right and you're telling me what the Quran, what the Sunnah is about, good. But anything outside of that, there's no obedience to you. You're a human being. And if what you're saying goes against the book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, no matter who you are. Umar radiallahu anhu once prevented the people from doing Hajj al-Tamattu. It's something that the Prophet ﷺ actually commanded the companions once they finished going between the Safa and Marwa. Those who didn't take the sacrificial animals, he said, come out of the state of Ihram. Become halal. And then on Yawm al-Tarwi, you go back into the state of Ihram. He commanded them to do Tamattu. So Umar, he had his ijtihad and he says, no. Ali came to him. He says, Allah's Messenger said such and such. Allahumma labbayka umratan ila al-hajj. Came to him and he was the Khalifa at the time. But the companions understood that when it comes to this deen, nobody is to be put on a pedestal like that, where they have total authority to tell you what to do or not to do, even if it goes against the Quran and the Sunnah. No human being. So this particular thing in our lives, when it comes to how we govern ourselves, the Book of Allah, the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, based on the understanding of that earlier generation. And we're saying that because, like the Prophet ﷺ prophesied, in times to come, People are going to change. In the hadith of Irbad ibn Sariyah, he told the companions, وَمَنْ يَعِشْ مِنْكُمْ فَسَيَرَى اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. If you live long, you shall see a lot of differences. And so he told them, adhere to my sunnah and the sunnah of the khulafa. In the hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, إِنَّ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ جُعِلَ عَافِيَتُهَا فِي أَوَّلِهَا. Safety and security was placed in the first of this generation, the first of this ummah. وَسَيُصِيبُ آخِرَهَا أَمُورًا وَبَلَاءٌ تُنْكِرُونَهَا. But people will come and they will be afflicted with things that the companions will consider as something real, unknown. So for us then, in respect to how we understand this deen, we go to the book of Allah, the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and we get the understanding from these two sources from those who sat at the feet of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is what we do. Okay? Because you will have things changing, I'm telling you. Look, the first thing then is that obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obedience to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, helps us to be amongst those that Allah favors. قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ. If you love Allah, then follow me. This is Allah directing the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam to tell the people to say this. Follow me, then and only then shall Allah love you. So you want Allah to love you and you're not on the Sunnah? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it a condition for you to receive His love that you must follow the Quran, the Sunnah. You must follow the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It tells you that. If you love Allah, then follow me. Then and only then will Allah love you. Now when we look into the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have a formula for success. Okay? He told us what to be cautious about. We live in a time where the Muslims are changing, man. Muslims are going crazy. Okay? Muslims are losing it. We got men sitting home taking care of the babies and the sisters going out working. We got sisters as breadwinners and brothers filing their fingernails at home. When in Islam, where does this come from? Right? Brothers coming back, well, you know, my wife got me sleeping on the couch. We have a trend now where women go out looking the way that, it's just disgraceful. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Sinfani min ahli an-nari lam arahuma." Two types of people I have not seen of the fire. رجال معهم men with siyat, yani whips, كذناب البقر يضربون بها الناس. That they used to whip the people. It shows oppression that will happen with leadership. والنساء كاسيات عاريات مائلات مميلات. Ladies that are clothed but naked. It is so bad in this day and time that in earlier days, even amongst kafirs, disbelievers, if you went out in a dress that was up by your knees, it was disgraceful. Now you have Muslim women wearing what is called spandex, man, and going in public. Going in public. They got a short shirt on and it's disgraceful. And the khimar on the head. Almost as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not reveal a dress code. Almost as if Allah has not revealed a dress code. And who's responsible? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, "Kullukum ra'in وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. All of you are shepherds, and you're responsible for your flock. He says, Al-Imam Ra'in. The Imam, he's Ra'in, he's a shepherd. وَمَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. He's responsible for those under his care. He will be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if something is happening in the community, the people in leadership have to address it. الرجل راع على أهل بيته ومسؤول عن رعيته. The man is in charge of everybody in his household. And he shall be questioned by Allah about the things that happened there. You cannot be that weak that you allow it to happen and keep your mouth closed. Men are supposed to be men. You have someone like that, you don't accommodate it by keeping your mouth closed. Imam Ahmad used to say about these people who are on misguidance, if I keep quiet and you keep quiet, when will the people know the truth and that they're wrong? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directs this, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you are responsible. And see, one of the things with the statement of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way he gives it, his expressions are very far-reaching. A shepherd does what to his flock? He's very gentle with his flock. He wants to see no harm coming to them. So he does everything that he can to protect them from harm. And if he needs to organize something to see that they get to pasture safe and from it safe, he's going to do that. He's going to make sure that they get the best nourishment and everything that they could get. And anything that is going to harm their health, he's responsible for it. Here, Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used the expression ra'in. And it means that the person in charge, he has to have qualities like this, where he's concerned and he's given direction, taking them on a pathway where they are being actually helped and not harmed. You may have a sheep or other one, he wants to go this way. He doesn't know that, look, man, that's a valley of wolves. And so you may have to take the little stick and tap him on his leg, and it's discomforting for him, but it's to help the person. Sometimes to correct people is painful because they don't want to hear it. But as a shepherd, you got to do that. The Prophet ﷺ says, وَالْمَرْأَةُ رَاعِيَةٌ فِي بَيْتِ زَوْجِهَا. The lady is a shepherd in her husband's home. There's something she's not supposed to allow in the home, because she's responsible before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concerning those under her care. The Prophet ﷺ says she is a ra'iyah, she is a shepherdess. And she's responsible, okay, for those under her care. So everybody, if we were to take on the responsibility to at least say something, the people who are doing wrong would at least not feel comfortable. But if everybody's silent and then you accommodate it, it emboldens people, man. They now feel like it must be all right. So now you go to some of the Islamic centers, the older folks who used to dress modestly now are putting on tight pants with a khimar on their head. Almost as if we don't have a dress code. Right? I have a discussion here about the whole issue of the dress code. The Prophet ﷺ once gave a companion a garment and he gave it to his wife. The Prophet ﷺ asked him, what did you do with it? He said, I gave it to my wife. He said, command her to wear something under it because it shows her shape. If she just wears that garment. If she just wears that garment, that's what it does. So don't let her wear that alone. Okay? We have a lot of difficulties in terms of the home environment, and a lot of it has to do with us not doing what is right as believers. Okay? The attitudes that we have, it has become different. Like the Prophet ﷺ taught us, if you live long, you will see a lot of differences amongst the people. One of the things that we have, we're facing enough problems outside of the home. Sisters are facing difficulties outside. If they dress up right, people see them, those Muslims, those terrorists, they're such and such. Okay? But what are you going to do? Take it off? What are you going to do? Pull the khimah back a little bit so your hair could show, so people might think that you're just one of these other people? You're dressing up for the cold? That's not what the Muslim is supposed to do. We know that, look, the more you move away from Allah, the less you have of Allah's assistance. The less you have of Allah's assistance, not only in this life, but in the life to come. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمُ الْأَمْنُ وَهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. Those who believe and do not cover up themselves, their faith, with dhulm. Dhulm here is normally referred to as shirk. When the Ahlul Ilm speak about it, in addition to that, it's any other thing that you do sinful against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That these people who do not cover themselves up with this type of oppression, they have total security. In the life to come, total security. So actualizing Tawheed causes you to be safe on the other side. Actualization of Tawheed then means that you have to be obedient. You have to stay away from sins. You have to stay away if you want to be safe on the other side. So for us then, safety, security comes from obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah mentions in the Quran that He has not sent a messenger before amongst the people, except that He took them بِالْبَأْسَاءِ وَالضَّرَّاءِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَتَضَرَّعُونَ. He caused poverty and sickness to afflict the people so that they would straighten up. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, and if they had only submitted themselves, تَضَرَّعُوا وَلَكِنْ قَسَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ وَزَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الشَّيْطَانُ مَا كَانَ يَعْمَلُونَ. Instead of submitting when these difficulties comes to cause you to get right, instead of submitting and humbling and turning in repentance, the shaitan made fair seeming for them. Look, man, I'm doing this and I'm getting all this ducats here. The money is good. I'm not praying on time. I'm slipping and sliding and then things are coming good. Why should I straighten up? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, and when they forgot the reminder, فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْوَابَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. When they were in this act of disobedience, Allah opened up the doors of all manners of goodness for them. Things came easy. Money came from all sides, all quarters. Some of the Salaf, when things got a little, they started to become afraid. Was this istidraj? Was Allah giving me a rope? Mm-hmm. Maybe it's not a blessing. Maybe it's something. I'm giving a rope. Maybe it's going to harm me later. One says, so when they forgot, they're deviant, they're sinful, and all this stuff is coming. فَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ أَبْوَابَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. We increased it for them. Now money is pouring in. Other stuff is happening that seems to be good. حَتَّى إِذَا فَرِحُوا بِمَا أُوتُوا أَخَذْنَاهُمْ بَغْتَةً فَإِذَا هُمْ مُبْلِسُونَ. And then when they're in the midst of their enjoyments, death comes to them. And now they're in a state of despair. And they realized that it wasn't worth all of this. I should have been obedient. Maybe I should have prayed a little bit and not give up Jummah. Maybe I should have done something. Maybe instead of cheating this person over here, I should have been just with him. Maybe instead of holding back on the zakah, because now the money doesn't benefit me anyway. Maybe I should have done the right thing in listening to my husband. Maybe I should not have oppressed my wife like this. Right? So for us then, like the Salaf used to say, man, as Sunnah kasafinati Nuh. The Sunnah is like the ship of Nuh. Man raqibaha naja wa man takhallafa anha gharq. Whoever gets on board shall be saved. If you stay off, man, you shall drown. You shall drown. So one of the things, Yani, when all of these things occur in our lives, we don't give up the deen. You don't run from Allah, man, when difficulties come. That is the time when you want to run to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't start taking off your clothes when things get tough. You want to just put on the garb. You don't want to break down and stop supplicating. This is when you really want to beg Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When these things happen. That's what Allah says. If they had only submitted themselves when these difficulties came, it would have been all good for them. But people want to turn their back. They want to continue in the evil ways. So for us then, brothers and sisters, the formula of success is following the book of Allah, not second guessing the messenger. Look, bad produces bad. It's just the way it is. Good produces good. This is why the Prophet ﷺ, he says, Al-kadhib yahdi ila al-fujur, wal-fujur yahdi ila al-nar. Lying leads to evil deeds, and evil deeds lead to the fire. Good is the opposite. Good is the opposite. Truthfulness leads to righteous deeds, and righteous deeds lead to paradise. Good produces good. Sometimes because of how we're socialized, we find the question comes from the sisters. They want to know, my husband is not doing such and such. What should I do? He's negligent in this area. What should I do? One of the things that you want to do is fulfill your duty to Allah and to your husband in spite of him. You don't want to disobey Allah and expect to get your family right. That's not what you want to do. Okay? The brothers, they have a responsibility of doing and fulfilling certain things. But two wrongs is not going to correct the situation. Okay? One of the questions that we have, you know, let me check it out. Bear with me for a second. All right? You know, I don't know what brothers doing looking at pornography. Right? Because that's not lawful. A married man looking at pornography? Okay. Now, look, we have some prophetic solution, medication for families. Okay? One of the things the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about the wife, he says, Khairun nisa, the best of women, are the ones when you command them, they obey, and when you look at them, they please you. And they do not go against you concerning themselves and their wealth. That's an encouragement for the sisters, for you to adorn yourself for your husband in the home. Put the earrings on. And if he likes to see that lip gloss, then be flowing. If he likes a certain hairdo, then, do it for him. Right? We used to have Ibn Abbas, he used to say, you reciprocate this. I like to, dress it for my wife to say I wanted to dress it for me. But one of the things that we have in the regulations here, the Prophet ﷺ, when he pointed out the qualities of a good sister, when he says, look, tazawju al-wadud al-walud, he said, marry sisters that are affectionate. Someone who ain't going to be toe-to-toe with you when you get upset. Someone who's going to be grown up enough to know how to diffuse a situation and not aggravate it. Right? He had a brother, one of the sons of Aboo, every time he came home, his wife she's on him. Like, where you been? Are you late? Always come out. And she's on him, right? So one day he comes home and she gets on his case. He says, you are divorced as many times as the stars in the sky. Of course, you don't do that Islamically, because that's not the way it's supposed to be done. Okay? The thing is, the Prophet ﷺ pointed out these qualities to show the brothers and the sisters what they can do to neutralize and to make the home front better. Okay? So one of the things that you can do to begin to have your husband look at you, do the things that he enjoys for you to do. It's not expected for you to look like that every day. But my goodness, 2-3 months come and your hair ain't combed? Huh? And the last time he saw you in that stuff that he likes was on the wedding night? Right? He likes to see something and put it on. And I guarantee he won't be hanging out with the brothers so much. So one of the things that we have these formulas, to help us, to help ourselves. The next lecture is for the brothers, so this ain't just all for the sisters. We got the brothers coming, right? But here, we've had brothers come, man, look, sister got me on the couch. I'll be ashamed to even whisper that to myself in the bathroom. The Prophet says, look, if a man calls his wife to be intimate and she refuses, the angels curse her until the morning time. وَكَانَ الَّذِي فِي السَّمَاءِ سَاخِطًا عَلَيْهَا حَتَّى يَرْضَ عَنْهَا. And the one who is above the sky remains angry with her until he is pleased. So it's unheard of for a person, a Muslim sister who has some understanding of this deen, and she's having problems in the household. These are ways that you try to clear things up. These are ways that you... Look, when the companion, she lost her baby, and she told the servants, look, don't tell my husband anything until I inform him about the death of his son. You don't tell him anything. And so he came home and she prepared some food. She washed herself up and perfumed herself, and yeah. And they were intimate during the night. She didn't tell him anything to upset his day coming in. Took a bath, perfumed herself, and they were intimate that night. And after he was relaxed and he had enjoyed himself, and she said to him, If a person is given a gift and the owner takes it back, is he blameworthy? He says no. Says Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took our son back. He gave it to us in the first place. Now see, that's a sister that is an example for sisters. He got upset and he went to Allah's messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allah's messenger supplicated, may Allah bless you in this union of yours last night. He used to be concerned, look, Asma bint Abi Bakr. She was walking and she was helping with some of the chores, and Allah's messenger offered her a ride, and she refused. Allah's messenger. When she went by Zubair, Zubair says, why? She says, I understood your jealous disposition, and I didn't want to offend you. Now this is Allah's messenger. But she said, I understood who you are. You're my husband. I know you. I'm not going to do anything that is going to cause you to be upset. So I didn't accept the ride. Characteristics, personalities in terms of this deen, how you neutralize something and you force your husband. You'd be like, I mean, how he going to help but to love you? You have someone like that, man, he ain't gonna go on no computer looking at some false stuff. Just the Sheikh used to say, Sheikh Salih used to say, Al-mar'a allati tukayyif ad-dunya min hawalik. I mean, she causes the atmosphere to be perfumed just because of her mannerisms. Right? So sometimes these things that we have, we can help by doing the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us to do and what we find suggested in the Sunnah. What we find suggested in the Sunnah. How many times have we heard people saying, that ain't fair. How come y'all get to do that and we can't do it? No. How come men get to do this and women can't do it? Why I got to answer to you? That's an attitude of Jahiliyyah, not Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَالصَّالِحَاتُ قَانِتَاتٌ حَافِظَاتٌ لِلْغَيْبِ بِمَا حَفِظَ اللَّهِ. When Allah describes righteous sisters, He describes them as قانتات. قانتات يعني مديمات في طاعتهن لله ولأزواجهن. They are obedient constantly to Allah and their husbands. حافظات للغيب. They protect them behind their backs, in their absence, and the secrets between them and their spouses, no one has any business to it. You don't get on the phone and start telling, you know what he such and such, such and such. No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in this particular verse the qualities and characteristics of a sister who's righteous. I don't care how you dress. If you're not following these things according to Allah, you're not righteous. According to Allah, you're not righteous. If your husband tells you to do something and you got it now, you toe to toe with him and it's something according to the Quran and Sunnah. And you, well, I don't feel like, and you, who are, no. According to this verse, there's something wrong with your understanding and there's something wrong with your faith. Okay? We have issues about the kids. Some of the sisters mentioned about the kids. How can we teach the kids? Well, see, first of all, parents are supposed to be examples, husbands and wives. The men have to be examples. That's coming up, inshallah, but we're going to point it out. Fathers are supposed to be men. No. They're supposed to be men. When the companion says, Ya Rasulullah, ma haqqu zawj ahadina alayhi, what is the right of our wives on us? He said, you are supposed to clothe and you are supposed to feed her. وَلَا تُقَبِّحْ وَلَا تَضْرِبْ الْوَجْهِ وَلَا تَحْجُرْ إِلَّا فِي الْبَيْتِ. You are supposed to be responsible for providing for the sister, man. You ain't supposed to be sitting down on your anatomy. And she's out earning the bread and you sitting out in the house? This particular narration says, no, you are the breadwinner. Her money is her money. But you are still responsible for taking care of the house. Okay? And he said, don't say, tqabbahkillah. May Allah disgrace you and all this other stuff. Whether it's you telling her about you ain't no good and you low and you this and you're not supposed to do that to your wife. I'm jumping the gun a little bit on the brothers. But this is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires of you as men. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells you what you're supposed to do and you're not supposed to do. Hitting your wife in the face? No, don't. وَلَا تَحْجُرْ إِلَّا فِي الْبَيْتِ. Shaykh Uthaymin rahimahullah ta'ala mentions concerning this particular narration here. And you don't abandon her except in the home. If you have a difference, nobody outside is supposed to know that there is some tension between you two in the household. You go outside your house, your wife passes, you don't say nothing to her, and people know, oh, something's wrong with them. The prophets are like, La tahjur illa fil bayt. You don't do that. That's behind the walls. And your kids are not supposed to be exposed to the nonsense. See, the way we conduct ourselves as parents, we actually educate the generation to come how they're supposed to conduct themselves. Muslims, cussing in the house. Father calling the mother out her name, mother reciprocating, and the kids are there in between. That's a disease, that's a sickness. These kids are not supposed to be exposed to that. You adults, if you have some dispute, take it inside in the bedroom and keep your voice down. These kids have nothing to do with that. Let them grow, let them live the life of a Muslim and a Muslim. Let them see in you how adults are supposed to conduct themselves. Take it on the side. Ain't supposed to hear you arguing toe to toe. I mean, that's nonsense. Why are they suffering? Because you don't have the maturity, Islamic maturity, to conduct yourselves right. Take it on the side. If you don't like what's, take it on the side. Don't be raising your voice, and even if you do it in front, let it be something that they see. This is how you conduct yourself. We train and we educate through our behavior. We train and we educate through our behavior. I'm not supposed to be doing that type of stuff. Right? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he spoke about marriage, right? There are certain regulations that we have in marriage. There are certain regulations we have prior to embarking upon this particular institution. There are ways that we conduct ourselves. Okay? In this society, You don't get married until you know a person. And knowing a person means, y'all know what it means, right? It means you get to know them, right? You take them out, you try them out, like you try your shoes on. That's kufr. That's not Islam. The things that we have in Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has legislated. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given us guidance. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala places in your heart to propose to a sister, there's nothing wrong if you go and look at her. And she looks at you. There should be no khalwa, there should be no seclusion when this is done. Because you're not married to her yet. People have this wrong impression, I don't know where it comes from, that once you propose to a sister, you're married to her. No, you're not. She's still a stranger. You may change your mind. She may change her mind because of something that you say, something that she says. Okay? I've known brothers, man, about to get married, and the sister says something off the cuff, and it's off. Ain't no possibility that this going on. But now you've gotten to know according to that way. If you had done it Islamically, everybody would be safe. No harm, no reciprocation of harm. So there are certain limits that have been ordained. In terms of how you relate to one another, that's only limited until you understand what is necessary and the things that you agree upon, and then the marriage takes place. You're not going to get to know a person fully until you marry them. Brothers, you won't know the sister until you marry her. Sisters, you ain't gonna know the brother until you marry him. I'm telling you, it ain't gonna be 100%. And this is why it's important for the fathers to play an important part in checking the brother out. This is why Allah's messenger put them in charge of this institution, the men. And that a sister is not allowed to marry herself without the permission of a guardian. Because the men could see what she can't see in other men. Never be able to see. I mean, how many times sisters come around and say, look, I want to marry such and such. And the brother says, no, man, don't do that. And she's infatuated because he comes, he looks good, he got a little sleek piece of ride out there, and he dressed good. 2 weeks afterwards, brother, I want a khula. No, we can't make it. He does this and they does that. Well, sister, the brothers were trying to tell you not to do that in the first place. This is why we have this particular institution. The Prophet ﷺ says, أَيُّمَا امْرَأَةٍ نَكَحَتْ بِغَيْرِ إِذْنِ وَلِيِّهَا فَنِكَاحُهَا بَاطِلٌ فَنِكَاحُهَا بَاطِلٌ فَنِكَاحُهَا بَاطِلٌ. Any lady who performs a marriage, she gets married without the permission of her guardian, her nikah is invalid, it's invalid, it's invalid. Now, the guardian doesn't have the right to force his daughter or his whoever's on his care. The Prophet ﷺ says, لا تنكح البكر حتى تستأذن. A virgin girl should not be given until her permission is sought. And if she disagrees, look, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, a father gave away his daughter in marriage and she didn't like it. She was a virgin girl. And the Prophet ﷺ gave her a choice to cancel the marriage. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. She has to live with the person, not you. So you give her directives and such and such and such and such. She agrees because now she knows, okay, Pops, she understands, he's going to check this out. I don't really understand that well. I may think I do. But that's why Allah has put the men in this particular situation. Not the mothers. The mothers have nothing to do with that. If your mom tells you it's okay for you to marry this person and pop says no, it's no. Sisters have no charge of this in this particular affair. That's a men's domain. When it comes to marrying off, that's the men. They're in charge of that. Okay? When Aisha had the orphans under her care, and it came time to marry, she pointed some of the men. This is their domain, not mine. Okay? So these particular areas, we have to follow the dictates that have been ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the things that we find in the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Conversating over the telephone. You propose to a sister, now you want to conversate over the phone. 9 o'clock at night until 2, you're on the phone. What you talking about? Well, I'm trying to find out about every day for 4 hours at midnight to 2. You can't figure out? Actually, the Ahlul Ilm allow only that conversation which relates to the marriage, and that will make sure that you understand what you're getting into, what you want to stay away from, and that's it. Because this man is still a stranger to you until you're married to him. That sister is still a stranger to you until you're married to her. And so once it's clear that this is the case and that is the case, then all that other stuff is to be shut down. Okay? We have an issue where sisters look down on sisters because of their dress code. Now, when I speak about the dress code, if you're wearing some leotards and biker shorts and some spandexes, you're supposed to be looked down upon. You should be ashamed of yourself even going out of your house like that. You're not supposed to be dressed up in front of your father like that, much less in front of the whole dunya. There's a certain dress code that your daughters have to observe in front of you as a father. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the places of adornment that you can show to your father and your brothers, okay, that means the other areas are not supposed to be shown. Your husband is the only person that can see everything without limit. But in respect to your household, even under your father's care, after you attain puberty, there's a certain part of your anatomy, your body, that your father's not supposed to see of you. So now you're going out, not just in the house, but in the streets like that? So we're not talking about that. That deserves criticism. But some of the issues say that the sisters are covered properly, they don't have their faces and hands covered. And people are looking down on them as if they are deviants. Right? That issue, inshallah, I want to go over in some detail. And we don't have time right now, so I'm going to do that in the next session. I'm going to go over it, inshallah, in some detail. Okay? Because I think there's the attitude is wrong, okay? And a part of that is because people don't know the whole issue and they haven't studied the discussion, perhaps except from one angle, okay? And one of the things you find with the Ahlul Ilm, when it comes to people having texts that are sound and you have differences of opinion, you don't look down on your brother and your sister if he's working with a text that is sound. You're trying to give dawah, you're trying to call people to this dawah, and those who are in you want to belittle them? What's the purpose of saying you got dawah if the people who are around you trying to run them away? If there's some shortcoming, you want to pull them in and treat them nicely. Give them the evidence if you feel that you're right. And be patient. Haven't you studied the seerah of even the scholars in our day, in time, Sheikh bin Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala, Sheikh Uthaymeen? I don't know if some of you brothers have had the blessing to see these illustrious sheikhs. Then you'll understand how far off we are in terms of our dawah. You don't beat down people and spit on them and expect them to listen to you. The Prophet ﷺ, in this blessed dawah of ours, he gave us an example of it. When Abu Musa and Mu'adh were going, he says, Yassira wa la tu'assira. Make things easy for the people. Don't make it difficult. Bashira wa la tunafira. Give them glad tidings. Don't run them away. Bring them in. Teach them. We're not trying to create enemies with the brothers. The brothers who are not, look, most of us ain't no understanding nothing about no dawah, man. People with tabligis, Sufis, and Warithuddins. And Allah guided us to the Sunnah. Somebody had to come and realize, man, look, man, they are Muslims, that they just getting wrong information. What you gonna do? Push them aside? Oh, they deviant? They ain't no good? I mean, if the brothers had taught that about me, right? We used to sit down in the masjid and break the Quran down in English, giving the tafsir. Yusuf Ali. What does this verse mean? Well, Allah says, the means such and such. The angels and the people. Well, you see, the, oh man, nonsense. Most of the people used to read books from Sayyid to Qutb. If you didn't read Milestones, you wasn't doing anything. Some of the brothers who had learned and studied in Medina, who had some understanding of this blessed dawah, they came and they sat down amongst the brothers and taught them Tawheed. They had the compassion of the people of the Anbiya, had the compassion, and they taught them the deen. Right? One of the things, man, you know, come on, man, we ain't, you know, sometimes you get the impression that if you claim to be something, you've already been given a ticket to paradise. And it ain't like that. It ain't like that. Right? I don't know any of our great scholars that used to consider themselves like that. Ibn Mas'ud once saw people walking behind him. He got upset. He said, if you knew me, you would throw dirt on me. You walking behind me like I'm something special? And this is the person that Allah's messenger says, I am pleased for my ummah to have whatever Ibn Mas'ud is pleased for them to have. He was climbing a tree, man, and the wind was blowing his body because he was thin. And the companions laughed at his thin legs. The Prophet ﷺ says, Mimma tadhakun? What are you laughing at? He says, Diqqatu saqi ya Rasulullah. The thinness of his legs. The Prophet ﷺ, he says, Walladhi nafsi biyadi lahuma athqalu fil mizani min Uhud. I swear by him in whose hand is my soul, these two legs are stronger in the scales than the Mount of Uhud.
So, ladies and sisters, there's a light on the wall, and there's a plug there. If you plug that in, the light will come on, inshallah.
Hey. So, when it comes to dawah then, and you want to treat our brothers and sisters who are already claiming to be on the Sunnah, you want to invite them, man. You want to teach them. You want to embrace them. You want to help them to help themselves. You don't want to run them away from the deen, man. We want to be like the prophets were merciful to the people. This is why the Prophet ﷺ directed them, when you go to the people, give them glad tidings. Don't run them away. When Thumam ibn Uthal was brought in the masjid, the Prophet, he came to kill Allah's messenger. The messenger ﷺ said, treat him nice, feed him good. The good treatment that he had changed his heart with Allah's permission. He heard in this environment the Quran, he saw the brotherhood, not discord. He saw the Islamic brotherhood. And when they let him go, instead of going to his people, he was their leader. He turned back to the masjid and embraced Islam. So this attitude, man, that we have in breaking down people and putting down people, that childish attitude has to stop somewhere. Has to stop somewhere. Things, fiqh issues, the scholars differed on. Sheikh bin Baz and Sheikh Nasser didn't have the same position on this issue that I'm going to discuss. But when Sheikh bin Baz was asked about Sheikh Nasser, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, I don't know tahta adim as-sama. I don't know anyone under the expanse of the sky who knows of the Sunnah of Allah's Messenger like Muhammad Nasruddin al-Albani, rahimahullah. That's what you learn from the scholars, man. But the children on the streets trying to take this dawah, destroying it. Hurting it. Because we don't know how to conduct ourselves like the scholars did. Right? So you see a sister, man, and she's trying to do something, don't break her down. Bring her in. No, maybe bring her over to dinner and give her some shy. You know, offer something good that she could give to her husband. Kiss her on the forehead or something. Then hold her hands and teach her. Oh, you ain't nothing but a deviant. Come here, let me tell you something. Nobody want to hear that, man. Look, Yusuf, alayhi salatu wasalam. I think I went over the time. He was in prison, right? And when the two prisoners came to him, and they told him their dreams. One of them, I saw me crushing grapes. The other one, I had a bread and the birds were eating from it. You know what they said to him? نَبِّئْنَا بِتَأْوِيلِهِ إِنَّا نَرَاكَ مِنَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. They said, teach us. Because we see your character, we see how good you are to the people. Teach us, we see how good you are. You help the people. You're trying to put no, you teaching the people, you helping the sick. Those who don't know, you're teaching them. Teach us, we see your character. Don't you know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, when speaking about the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in spite of him being the last and final messenger, Allah says, لَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَنْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. If you were harsh and hard-hearted, the people would flee from you. In spite of the correctness of your message. Character is important then. We trying to teach people. You can't spit on someone, man, and then talk about you want to help him. It's not the way it is with human nature. So we are taught from Allah's Messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, man, giving dawah. Especially when you see someone who is interested, he's interested, she's interested. She wants to learn. She's falling short, but she knows she wants to learn. She wants to know the truth. You don't beat her down. Those are the people you hold. I remember some of the older brothers, right? They'd see, some of the older brothers. They'd see us do something wrong, right? I remember my brother Mubarak, hafidhahullah. One of the brothers had done something. It was terrible. So what he did, he invited him for dinner. You know, held him by the hand and such and such. I mean, what you gonna do when a person treats you like that, man? Other than listen to what he has to say. Right? So for us, you know, the sisters amongst the sisters, the brothers amongst the brothers, We ain't trying to break nobody down. This is Allah's deen. The Prophet ﷺ, when he went to Ta'if, and Jibreel came to him and says, Ya Muhammad, Allah saw what these people did to you. And He has ordered the angels in charge of the mountain to do what you want to do with them. Allah's messenger was sent for some mercy to bring people to light, man, to guidance. Didn't come to destroy and break people down. Said, no, don't destroy them. Don't destroy them. It is my hope that if these people don't accept it, their progeny will. Let them live. Right? When he went to Mecca, man, you know, in Mecca, they were treating the Muslims bad. They beat Zanira until her eye came out of the socket and was leaning on her cheeks. That's one of our sisters, man. They beat her in her face until the eye came out of the socket and fell on her cheeks, man. They used to take Khabab and burn him. Ammar. All of them. And then when the Prophet ﷺ came to Mecca, Man dakhala baytahu fahuwa amin. Whoever enters his home, he's safe. And look at the wisdom of Allah's messenger. Man dakhala dara Abi Sufyan fahuwa amin. Whoever the homes of Abi Sufyan, he's safe. Man aghlaq ala nafsihi bab fahuwa safe. He's safe. Man, when the people saw this man and they saw Allah's messenger at this time, he had the opportunity to spill as much blood as he wanted to. That was not his mission. His mission was to see that these people get some guidance if possible. And so all that was pardoned. And people came into the deen of Wajah. And what is interesting is that after this victory, right, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to seek forgiveness. After fulfilling and going through all those trials and tribulations, to seek forgiveness. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was always supposed to be a slave, and he demonstrated what a slave, to submit and now seek forgiveness at the point of your death. No arrogance in that dawah, man. At all. None. When he entered Mecca, his forehead was almost touching the back of his camel. Not like a victor or something Nah, this was Allah's slave, liberating the people from shirk and bringing them into tawheed. That's what we're supposed to be about, amongst ourselves and amongst the people. Sisters with sisters, brothers with brothers. You know, the shaitan, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, قَدْ يَأِسَ الشَّيْطَانِ أَنْ يَعْبُدَ بِجَزِيرَةِ أَنْ يَعْبُدَ الْمُصَلُّونَ بِجَزِيرَةِ الْعَرَبِ. The shaitan is in despair that you shall worship him in the Arabian Peninsula. وَلَكِنْ فِي التَّحَرِيشِ بَيْنَكُمْ. But if he could cause you to argue amongst yourselves so that your strength would dissipate, he'd be satisfied. Bicker amongst yourselves, and he'd be contented. Right? سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك